Good evening, everyone. I would like to start this meeting by recognizing that the area that we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to 31 different First Nations for generations. Actions and decisions made by governments in the past have left many Indigenous communities untrusting of the Canadian healthcare system. It is our collective responsibility to keep this at the forefront of our minds as we make decisions as a hospital board, since the decisions we make have a direct impact on the physical and mental well-being of all community members, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So with that in mind, I would like to call to order the November 27th, 2025 meeting of the Hospital District Board. First item on our agenda is the election of the chair. To facilitate this election, I would like to ask for a first call of nominations for chair of the hospital district.
I nominate Director Ross as chair. Oh, hospital, I'll pick.
I'll nominate Director Pranger.
Thank you, Director Horn. Director Pranger, do you accept this nomination? Are there any other nominations? For a second time, are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the hospital district? And for a third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the hospital district? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will not be an election and confirm that Director Pranger is elected chair of the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District. So at this time, I would like to ask the chair to direct staff to facilitate the election of the acting chair. Thank you. So I will now call for nominations for the position of acting chair for the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District.
I'll nominate Director Horn.
Thank you. Director Horn, do you accept this nomination? Are there any other nominations for the position of acting chair of the hospital district? For a second time, are there any other nominations for the position of acting chair for the hospital district? And for a third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of acting chair of the hospital district? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will not be an election and confirm that Director Horn is elected acting chair of the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District. Okay, Chair Pranger, you now have an opportunity to provide your remarks as chair of the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board.
Thank you. Thank you for the privilege of serving the board again. I look forward to serving as your chair over the next year. These uncertain economic times certainly solidify the importance of working in collaboration. The relationship between the Fraser Health Authority and the hospital district has improved significantly over the past year. Together, we signed a memorandum of understanding in 2025 to undertake joint capital health care planning, and we held our first joint meeting last week. We are working side by side to align priorities and ensure every dollar invested in capital projects provides the greatest clinical impact for patients and families. This collaboration builds on a shared vision, strategic planning, and better health outcomes for all of our communities. We are looking forward to seeing projects come alive in the next couple of years, including having the Chilliwack and Abbotsford long-term care facilities residents come online. The Hospital District Board will continue to embrace opportunities that underpin our shared commitment to support community by investing in healthcare equipment and capital priorities. Although the future is unknown, taking a resilient approach supported by strong partnerships is a key to navigating the future of all the challenges in healthcare. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you, Chair Pranger. So looking for approval of the agenda, and late items.
So moved.
Me? Take over. Thank you.
So it was moved by Director Facio and seconded by
Facio,
Director Lund.
second by Director Reed. Those in favor, contrary, carried. Next item,
7.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board open meeting minutes of July 24th, 2025.
do I have a mover? Director Clute, Director Popoff. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, those in favor, contrary, that carries.
Item 8.1 is an information item. It's the Hospital District Treasury update. The staff are happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for staff?
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, to staff, I noticed we've been earning a fairly healthy amount of interest on some of our investments from the monies we've got invested in the Treasury, and I'm wondering, with some of that money, are those the revenue we've derived from that? Are those directed towards specific projects, or are those decisions that the board can look at something if they were to hive off some of the interest income specifically?
Thank you for the question through you to Director Lund. I think we'll just have our Deputy CFO, Beth Klein, comment on that one.
Through the chair to Director Lum, we will bring it forward through the financial planning process. So in December, we'll bring forward the provisional budget, and then again, the final in the new year. And this forecasted interest will be included to make a decision on.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Okay, so next we move down to reports from board directors.
Anyone wishing to speak? Director Lum.
Oh, gee whiz. Okay, 2 in a row. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to report on a meeting that I had the good fortune of attending with the Chilliwack through the Chilliwack Hospital Foundation. And we had a fairly urgent need that was brought to our attention around maternity clinic to be located at the Chilliwack Hospital. And I think part of the reason I asked some of the question prior was I don't know if that has shown up in some of the capital planning that's being done by this board in joint with Fraser Health, but it is something that's certainly reflective of the community needs, both here in Chilliwack and the broader Eastern Fraser Valley and in Abbotsford as well, who in times of need take overflow from the maternity center in Chilliwack. This would be something that would augment and provide support to family doctors who are doing some of the work. The need is fairly dire from my understanding. Back just a few years ago, there was up to 19 physicians that were doing this work, and now it's dropped down to 4. So a fairly serious and urgent need, and I look forward to bringing more information back to the board about how perhaps we have an opportunity to step up and support maternity care and women's health care is a huge priority reflected in the community, and I would put forward that it should be a considerable priority of this hospital district board as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Director Horn.
Yes, thank you. A couple of things to report. This is the fastest way for me to speak to my colleagues who are on the north shore of the Fraser River. And we have some who aren't around the table from First Nations. I just wanted to update that a conversation that had gone dormant with Fraser Health has been revived. And thanks to, I think, changing leadership there. And I'll expect to speak with CEO Dermot Kelly next week about generating the North Fraser community forums and medical forums that we had been talking about, and those were intended to be opportunities for healthcare providers in one potentially one session, and for the community in another. So we will be putting out invitations to those folks who are signatories of the letter on the North Fraser, and of course, making everybody around this table aware of those forums, because I think probably there'll be a lot of common issues to be discussed. But that's the first thing. The second thing is perhaps not as sunshiny. Just wanted to make people aware of the fact that we are hearing in our community about some loss of harm reduction services, and I'm trying to get my handle on it. But for more than half a year now, we're struggling to get clarity on what's happening with some of the resources that are meant to be in our community. It's difficult because harm reduction has become an almost meaningless term. So broad it is that it could mean somebody giving out socks or doing foot care at a clinic, all the way to an overdose prevention site, or somebody who's handing out clean, safe use supplies. So I will ask my colleagues in this room if they're hearing similar things to let us know, because I am trying to determine if this is a Mission issue or a Fraser Valley issue. Right now, the indications are that it's a Fraser Valley issue, that there have been some changes in the resourcing that Fraser Health is willing to provide in these services. And I'm having some challenges getting a clear answer. So if you have information to provide, I'd appreciate an email. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next item, please.
So now we move to public question period for items relevant to the agenda, and I'll just turn things over to our corporate officer, Jamie Van Ness.
Thank you. We do have 3 members of the public joining us online tonight. And this would be an opportunity to ask any questions relevant to the hospital district agenda. And I do note we also have 2 members of the public in person with us tonight. And just to repeat, that would be for any questions relevant to the hospital district agenda. Just looking to our online viewers to hit the raise hand function if they do have any questions, and just looking to our in-person. Doesn't appear anybody in person has any questions, and does not appear anybody online has questions. We can move to the next item.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Okay, so looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Director Facio and Director McElhonick. Those in favor, contrary, carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So moving over to the regional district, I would like to start this meeting by recognizing that the area that we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to Indigenous peoples for generations. There are 31 communities with reserved lands in the FVRD's jurisdiction, and as many as 69 groups with interest in the area. This diverse landscape means that there are many different viewpoints that need to be considered when we make decisions, because what we decide as a local government can affect everyone in different ways now and in the future. So as part of our collective responsibility, I commit that we continually examine the work that we do to ensure that our projects, plans, initiatives, and discussion are guided by the principles of inclusion, collaboration, and reconciliation today and in the future. So with that in mind, I would like to call to order the November 27th, 2025 meeting of the Fraser Valley Regional District Board of Directors. So the first item on our agenda is the election of chair. To facilitate this election, I would like to ask for a first call of nominations for chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District.
Yes, I'd like to, my apologies, I'd like to nominate Director Ross for chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Facio. Director Ross, do you accept this nomination? Are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? For a second time, are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? And for a third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will not be an election, and confirm that Director Ross is elected chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. So at this time, I would like to ask the chair to direct staff to facilitate the election of vice chair. So I'll now call for nominations for the position of vice chair for the Fraser Valley Regional District.
I'd like to nominate Director Clute.
Thank you, Director Facio. Director Clute, do you accept this nomination? Are there any other nominations for the position of Vice Chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? For a second time, are there any other nominations for the position of Vice Chair for the Fraser Valley Regional District? And for a third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of Vice Chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will not be an election and confirm that Director Clute is elected Vice Chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. So at this point in the agenda, with great relief that I get to turn this back over to you, we're going to recess for just a few minutes so that we can rearrange the seating so we're back in our usual places. So if you just give us 2 or 3 minutes and we'll set that up. So Chair Ross, you now have an opportunity to provide your remarks as Chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District Board.
Thank you. Staff have prepared a list of some significant things that we should be highlighting from this past year, kind of a look back, but just a couple of personal remarks of my own first. And of course, I want to thank you for the honor of serving as your chair this past year and to continue on again in this next one. We've had a lot of challenges, but what I'm immensely proud of is that we rise to them with grace, dignity, integrity, and by always defending our position with good science and facts, of course, with our incredible staff who do the research to support us. And we have a lot of challenges ahead. Our level of government is truly on the front lines of innovation and change, and I continue to be inspired by the incredible work we do with such limited resources. We are the most effective, accessible, and accountable level of government. Yet lately, we find ourselves having to defend and protect it like never before because it is under attack and erosion of the very things that make it great. We are going to need to continue strong advocacy to ensure our voice is heard. I would like to extend my appreciation to all the FERD staff, employees, and fire department volunteers. Your expertise, daily responsibilities, and commitment to the service of local government is inspiring. What you do every day for the FERD is significant, and it all matters to the lives of the people we serve. Not only does it display your pride in serving community, but it also highlights the level of skill and depth of knowledge that we as elected officials and residents rely on and sincerely appreciate. So thank you. And to all of you as board members, you've been amazing to work with, and I'm very grateful to you all for the work that you do and the support you've given me. And finally, I just have to say a big thank you to our past chair, Jason Lum, for always being available for advice. Where are you? There you are. Advice during this transition to chair, and to Vice Chair Chris Clute, who's always been an amazing support as well. Now, looking back over the past 12 months, there are significant projects to highlight. First is the North Cultus wastewater treatment plant. After 17 months of construction, we celebrated the opening of the plant in August. The construction of this key piece of infrastructure was possible due to joint funding in the amount of $14.6 million from the Government of Canada, Province of BC, and the FERD. A collaborative delivery model proved to work exceptionally well as the project was completed on time and on budget. No small feat. New collective agreements in September, FERD and QP Local 458 reached a new 3-year agreement with both of its bargaining units for Chilliwack and Hope. The agreements are in effect from January 1st, 2025 until December 31st, 2027. Advocacy efforts. This year, an Intergovernmental Relations Committee was created. The committee's goals are to focus on efforts to bring forward the voice of the FERD in an enhanced, efficient, and collaborative way. Advocacy updates have also become a part of the Electoral Areas Services Committee and, when required, at board meetings. As we continue to address issues that affect the region, the efforts to nurture partnerships, build understanding, and raise awareness will help in building external trust and awareness, and essentially be a key factor in addressing the change or decision-making we're seeking for a particular issue or topic. The 2025 to 29 financial plan. Our prioritization of fiscal responsibility and forethought to secure future needs is always a top priority for this board. Emergency Preparedness Week. Collectively, we all play a critical role in being prepared for an emergency, and the FERD is doing a great job at making emergency preparedness tools for the region that work for residents, businesses, and visitors alike. Local Government Week. As I've said before, local governments are on the front lines of innovation and change. During this annual Awareness Week, the intention of the UBCM initiative is to bring education and awareness about the roles and responsibilities of local government to the public. Our participation this year included showcasing some of our cherished FERD facilities. Bench donations, and I think there's going to be a picture coming up. This spring, the FERD was the grateful recipient of a generous donation of 2 handcrafted benches for Thacker Regional Park. Mr. Doug Lasser, pictured here, also known in the District of Hope as the Bench Guy, has a passion for outdoor public spaces and wanted to provide a comfortable place for people to sit, rest, and enjoy the park. I'm sure you'll agree with me that Doug's commitment towards giving back is inspiring. Incidents. All 7 of our fire departments attended a variety of calls for service this past year. Each department operates every day of the year, 24 hours a day, and all on a volunteer basis across our 11 fire halls. The dedication and courage of each fire department member exemplifies commitment to community service. This summer, campfire bans and wildfires were a part of the landscape once again. The FERD issued evacuation alerts for electoral area B from Yale North to Spuzzum Creek Road, including the east and west side of the Fraser River, as well as one for the North Cascade Bay area of Harrison Lake due to wildfires this summer. Public engagement. I appreciate public participation opportunities and believe community feedback is important because it provides valuable insight. We have had a variety of public engagement projects running this year: soil deposit bylaw, Chilliwack River Valley Slope Stability Risk Assessment, new community parks in Yale and Popcom, interim housing needs report for electoral areas, updating our regional park strategic plan, Area C's official community plan update, Fraser Canyon complete community study, Hatzick Island and Eagle Road water feasibility, the development of an active transportation network plan, the Popcom major official community plan amendment and development proposal, and last but not least, 2026 budget planning. As your chair, I remain committed to being open, supportive, and always representing the FERD in a positive and professional manner. During these uncertain times, there is no better time than the present to formulate critical solutions through collaboration, commitment, and creativity. In the year ahead, I am hopeful that we will approach challenges that may come our way as opportunities, and we remember to applaud our achievements, both big and small, to ensure our momentum is maintained. I thank each of you for your support, and please know your dedication and hard work on behalf of the people we serve is very much appreciated. All right, now on to the fun stuff. The board. All right, first item, please, Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you. Looking for approval of the agenda, and late items.
So move, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Siemens. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 7.1 is a delegation from CN Rail, and I believe they are joining us on Zoom this evening.
Thank you. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Chair Ross, board, directors, guests of the Fraser Valley Regional District. Thanks for having myself and Shannon join you tonight for a quick presentation at the request of the local area directors. My name is Tyler Bannock. I'm the Public Affairs Manager for British Columbia. And with me, I'll let Shannon introduce herself.
Good evening. I'm Shannon Embrell. I'm the Senior Manager for Rail Maintenance for CN Rail across their whole system, so all of Canada and through the US as well.
So we put together a quick presentation. I know we only have about 10 minutes on your agenda. So if I'm looking, I'm assuming, I think you have the presentation in front of you. Is that correct?
We do, yes. Thank you.
Okay, good stuff. So do you want me to share my screen or I'll just walk through it? Is that the best way to do that, or?
Can you share the screen? Probably that would be best.
Yeah, 2 seconds here. I think this is the one. Yeah. Do you see?
Not yet. Oh, there we go. Looks like something's coming up. Got it.
Got it. Perfect. Just gonna bear with me. I got a couple screens in front of me, so if my head's tilting, it's because I'm looking at the opposite screen. So, let's see if I can. There we go. Okay. So, my name, my phone number, if anyone needs to get a hold of me, always available to help out. Looking at the board of directors and Chair Ross, like you cover off such a wide and vast area that CN operates through. So lots of representation in the room. So hopefully we can help with some of your questions that you may have. Quick CN 101, three coast tri network from west to east down to the Gulf of Mexico. On the west coast, Port of Vancouver, Prince Rupert, New Orleans down in the Gulf, as well as Mobile, Alabama, and then we've got the Port of Montreal, Halifax, Moncton, and St. John on the east coast. 18, just shy of 19,000 route miles and 25,000 employees. So quite a bit of infrastructure throughout that. On this map here, you'll see if we looked at Winnipeg through Saskatoon and Edmonton, Prince George to Prince Rupert, that's our main line, as well as from, I guess it would be Tejon Junction down through Kamloops and through the valley and into Surrey, where our main office is, or one of the offices in Vancouver, or the Lower Mainland, sorry, and then into the ports. Narrowing it down into BC, we employ 2,700 teammates throughout the province, 2,800 route miles, and as of the end of 2024, the top three commodities that we moved was intermodal, so containers off of ships from those ports, metallurgical, mostly metallurgical coal, and forest products. Now we know the forest industry is not doing the greatest right now, so I suspect that might change for 2025. But Thornton Yard is where we have our main operation in the Lower Mainland. Kamloops is also a major hub, as is Smithers, and then into Prince Rupert and Prince George. Sorry. For your area, we have a trade-off location at Boston Bar, so it's quite a busy spot for crews coming in from Kamloops, as well as interchanging from Vancouver. I know a lot of discussion is on, in the communities are fire smarting throughout directives from the province, and something that we've introduced in the last number of years is our new firefighting equipment, and that's being these fire assets that we have, whether it be a trailer with pump and hose, with a generator and a lighting system. We have a kind of a command center, as well as water tanks on flatbed cars with a caboose, actually, which we don't have many of anymore on our network, on the tail end. And now these assets get moved into locations. We work with BC Wildfire and watch the national weather forecast and kind of try to identify whether it's a dry or a hot spot, and we move these assets into location throughout our network, predominantly based in Kamloops and Prince George in the summer months, as well as Jasper and Edmonton, and then we move them where we see fit, and work closely again with municipalities and the province for that. So it's proved quite beneficial. Last year alone, helping BC Wildfire personnel mop up hot spots that they couldn't reach or they couldn't even access. So we do a lot of moving of individuals as well into location. 2025, this year we expanded our capabilities with two new systems that each carry 25,000 gallons of water, pumps, cannons, and hose support, as I mentioned. And then with the water shortages that we've seen, we've also moved a lot of movable equipment assets into those same strategic locations, and those are up to 30,000 gallons in those tank cars. So again, quite beneficial for us. Now, if some of you have attended our FCM presentations before, you've seen some of this safety presentations that we've provided. Chair Ross looking to potentially present this year at the LGA conference in April in Whistler, putting a proposal in to again kind of go over a more in-depth piece on our safety. Work very closely with Tarina College from your group on emergency response, and collaborate over the years on different incidents. So some really good discussions. And then of course Director Johnson and Director Mahonic on a bunch of on items throughout. So safety is huge. It's a core value at CN. It's everything that we do derives around the safety first piece. Technology that we've deployed into our field includes wayside detectors, so measuring heat off the wheels, the steel wheels for bearings. We've got inspection portals where trains go through looking for defects, just basically an X-ray machine that the naked eye may sometimes miss. We have rail cars that look like safety vests that travel in active service, that go at track speed through your communities from A to B, that look again and feed back real time and live information to our teams that are in kind of a more of a set setting that can analyze. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, and again, I'm more than happy to go over and share more information as time permits. And then again, my last slide, anyways, is just some key contact numbers that can be shared within your regional district, public, and out into the public. So our public inquiry line, we have a CN Police and emergency line, and then if you ever have any media inquiries, you can flip them our way as well. So I apologize for talking quite fast through that. And I know when we were first approached to come and talk, it was probably right in the start of the fire season or mid fire season, and there was some discussion about kind of what our rail grinding operation looks like, and what we have to do to maintain a safe operation for those trains to go through your communities. And Shannon's the expert on that, and I will let her speak to that and share her screen. So I'll stop sharing there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to share my screen here, and I will try to go through it in about 5 minutes. So basically, I'm going to go over rail grinding, rail flaws, and safety. Overview of grinding, the benefits, our process, safety as in fire safety, and if you have any questions after. So I look after the rail maintenance department for CN Rail. We're responsible for maintaining safety reliability of all the rail infrastructure. So that's lubrication, rail grinding, but also finding rail defects in the rail. So what rail grinding does, this is a production grinder that'll come along. It smooths and reshapes the surface of the rail. So once you have so many million gross tons over the rail, about 40 to 50 million gross tons, you have to reprofile it. So your district is actually in our busiest corridor between Edmonton and Vancouver, and I have to reprofile the rail 4 to 5 times a year in order to keep it in a condition where I can look for the rail defects. So here are just some of the quick benefits of rail grinding. It corrects rolling contact fatigue. I'll show you what that is in 1 minute. Reprofiles, cleans the surface so that rail flaw detection can be performed efficiently. It extends the life of the rail, and it reduces rail defects. So this is what happens if you don't grind the rail. I get this question a lot from BC Wildfire. Why do you have to grind in the summer? And because if I don't grind every 3 months, this is what the rail will look like. So imagine you have ultrasonic testing equipment trying to send sound beams down through that to look for these big defects here that I've circled. You can't, right? So we have to keep a really clean, smooth surface so that the rail stays healthy and we can find defects if there are real defects. Okay, this is I thought it was kind of neat. I stole it from someone else's presentation, but so when the wheel rolls along the rail, it ratchets up the steel, and that's what causes this rail contact fatigue. This is just to kind of further explain, like when we're looking for internal rail flaws, the sound bounces, it comes in off these searcher units on the trucks and it bounces in, and that's just kind of how we look for the defects. So what our process is, we have a high rail vehicle, they'll come, they'll scan, and they'll determine what kind of grind we need to do. Then we have the grinder that'll come along. We work about 12-hour shifts. We do about 30 miles a day. And then we do we have 2 water trucks that follow along here. And then we do a post patrol afterwards with drones to make sure that we didn't leave any hot spots in the area. These are what the grinding stones look like. This is kind of before and after of a grind. Give you an example. That's what our grinder looks like. It's 1,200 feet long. It's parked somewhere near Ashcroft. So for the safety aspect of this, so we have a couple things that we're mandated to do. So Transport Canada mandates several things, CN mandates several things, BC Wildfire also mandates that. So I'm not going to go through the whole checklist because it's significant, but we go through that. We have a daily assessment here, low risk, moderate, high. And if we're getting in the high risk, we just don't grind. So each grinder, this is kind of a lot of details here, but we have 75,000 gallons on each grinder. And then we have some smaller ones that come along to do like crossings and whatnot. They have 4,500 gallons. We have cannons on the front and the back. They have these little shields that kind of guard the sparks from coming out too far. This is how far the water comes out. This is kind of what the side shields look like to prevent the sparks. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Sure. Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Sorry, no names were coming up. Director Adamo.
Thanks very much. And thanks for your presentation, both of you. I've had a lot of questions from my area specifically, which is Area B, which is below Director Johnson's area, which is the Boston Bar area, where we've had 2 significant fires in the last 2 years. And so you'll be very familiar with that. And you did answer some of the questions with respect to why you grind all year long. I guess my concerns or my question is, what is being changed to improve the system and the safety this year over last year? And then I have a water question specifically as well. But you did mention that sometimes you find that the conditions are not suitable for grinding and then you don't grind. What is a condition that's not suitable? Like to this year during a drought, when we had a water shortage and a water scarcity, they were still grinding in the Yale area. And so that seemed to me like a critical time to not do it.
Yeah, so I'll answer the first question. What we're doing a little bit different this year is we hired a drone company that's based out of Victoria, and they have thermal drones. They are actually the same people that respond to BC Wildfire for that they use. And I have them doing the post patrol, and they can find a hot spot the size of a dime. So that's been pretty neat. We started that maybe in August this year, and we've kept it. But we have 2 grinders that go through Canada, so we've kept it on both grinders. And then you want to know what would be considered a time where we wouldn't grind. So we have, I kind of went through it quickly there, but we have a scoring sheet, and there'd be a lot of factors. So we grind at night because it's more humid at night, right? So the risk is lower. But we look at wind. If there's slopes, as you know, if there's a massive slope next to where we're working, it's a lot more dangerous than, if it's like a lush little field, right? Because the slope, it'll just take off and go. We do look to see when the last time it rained was, but there are probably 30, 40 different criteria that we check off before we go.
Thanks. The last one I have is related to water in the new tanker system. Where does this water come from? Does it come out of, for example, does it come out of our potable water system in Yale or Dogwood Valley or Boston Bar? Or are you pulling it out of, like, where's it coming from to fill up 25,000 gallon machines that are
Yeah,
worth
75,000 gallons in total, actually,
75,000
on
per
the.
number? Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. So we do all kinds of different ways. We have a vendor that'll go and we pay for it from the local fire department. They'll open up um, their water source, whatever we pay for it. Sometimes we'll take it out of the river if we're allowed, like if environmentally we're allowed to take it from the river, we will if it's accessible. But we hire a local vendor that gives us the water, so we don't get it for free or anything.
Okay. I have a solution for you. We'll talk offline.
Okay,
Follow up
perfect.
with
That'd
you
be
next
great.
week and perhaps something that can come up for this. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation, both of you.
Thank you, Director Reed. Oh, I thought you were trying to signal. Okay, Director Johnson is coming up here, but Director Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to offer my thanks as well to both of you. Appreciate the presentation.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Is there anyone else with questions? Director Siemens?
Hi, thank you. Very interesting. Just maybe a little bit different question. With all the port expansion that we're having on the West Coast, rail capacity, are we comfortable with the rail capacity, or are there going to be changes, more trains, longer trains, or how are we going to address some of that increased capacity at our ports?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're not prone to what you see on the news and the expansion of and the desire to move our great products from the country. And the best way to do that, and most sustainable way is by rail. We are open for business. We have the capacity now to move freight both to Vancouver and to Prince Rupert. I had I was at the State of the Port address here recently with the Port of Vancouver, and President and CEO Peter Zada made it very clear that they too have the capacity to bring in the freighters and move out the product. There is one, so some of the projects that we're working on is the Hold'em overpass with the Port of Vancouver in Burnaby. We've done some upgrades to a tunnel called the Thornton Tunnel in Burnaby. We're working on an at-grade sorry. Hold'em overpass is the removal of an at-grade crossing, which is a safety piece, as well as it would increase the fluidity of the trains. And then a project that's happening outside of Abbotsford and Matsqui would be some double tracking there. That would probably be the last piece of single track that we have going to the Port of Vancouver. So that will increase fluidity as well. And then quite a bit of projects that over the last number of years, Kamloops Yard, Thornton Yard in Surrey has seen increased upgrades, as well as quite a bit of two big double track projects east of Jasper, more near the Hinton area, and then one west of Jasper, outside of Alberta. So lots of capital investment back into the infrastructure, both on the safety side of things, as well as sidings and double tracking build-outs. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Director Lum.
Thanks, Tyler and Shannon, for being here. I have a question. You mentioned that you move a large majority of metallurgical coal. And can you talk about coal dust mitigation and what you guys are doing, where you're doing coal dust mitigation, and what you're doing to ensure that you're not getting a bunch of coal dust in the communities that you're traveling through?
I can speak to it a little bit because I'm not the subject matter expert on the coal, like the transportation of coal. A lot of it does come from we have an agreement, a handoff agreement with CPKC. A lot comes from the Elk Valley, so into the interior of BC, gets traded off in Kamloops, and then carries forward into in through the Lower Mainland, or some goes to Prince Rupert, and we when I say we, I think it's more the industry, the customer, that does a lot of the dust mitigation before it leaves their site. And if I'm not mistaken, there are locations along the network, for sure along CPKC's, that have spraying locations that kind of do a cap. But when you see a coal train go through, typically you won't see it's not just open coal. It's got a hard layer of a spray coverage on it that should mitigate the dust. The companies that do ship with us are very keen to hear if there is dust happening in your communities. They'd be willing to send out representatives to do testing in that. So, Director Lum, I'd have to get back to you on exactly where those locations are. But they are out there on the network for sure.
Yeah, no, that would be great. It was like pretty fortuitous that you guys came to present tonight, because it was something that in 15 years of doing this job I had never heard of, and then I got stopped literally in a grocery store and from somebody out in East Chilliwack who lives alongside the tracks, and just said, you know what, it's something we have kind of put up with, especially in the longer, hotter, drier summers. It's something that seems to be becoming more of an issue. And I don't know if it's that they, between the last point where it's treated, or there's a spray or a mitigation point, and the connection, because we're so close to the port or its final destination, that the amount of time or whatever, the dust seems to be starting to become somewhat of an issue. And I just thought I'd bring it up, flag it for you, and yeah, I'd love to chat more about it.
Sure. Yeah, I receive I do receive quite a inquiries, concerns, and coal dust is not one that comes up often. So yeah, happy to dig into that one for you and see what I can find out, and then we'll both learn something.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Director McElhaney.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you very much. I know when I called, I'm a non-rail community, but Director Johnson wasn't able to follow up on some concerns, and I just found you're very approachable and helpful, and yeah, I know you went pretty quickly to arrange this, so thank you.
No, you're very welcome. I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you. Director Bartman.
Just a question on, do the length of the trains depend on what your commodity that you're moving to the port? Number of cars for a safety reason?
Yeah, typically it would, for sure. What we like to see is we call it unit trains. So it's one commodity of coal, commodity of potash, commodity of grain, and those, again, in different regions too. Like if you were to go in Eastern Canada, those trains might be 6,000 or 7,000 feet. But when you come out into Western Canada and the product coming out of the Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC's, we're looking at anywhere 12 to 16,000 feet worth of product. And the good thing about those unit trains, when it's not a kind of a mixed service train, is that you're not typically stopping at a customer to set some cars off and pick some up, or going through the yards and doing a bunch of switching. It's a straight shot to destination, where they are either loading a car, or they're and usually in the port's case they're unloading. Now you can, if you've got if you're in a Surrey location, or a Kamloops, you've got work trains that might go out and service a local industry, so quite a bit smaller. You're looking at 2, 3, 6,000 feet. You've got trains that move supplies for our work crews, or in this instance, the LORAM with the doing the rail grinding, quite a bit smaller. So it does vary for sure by product, but we're because of the lack of industrial space and the way that technology is allowing industry, these big grain terminals and such, to build loop tracks, we call them now, where we would just pull in the locomotive and the train and it would go in the loop and unload and load. Where it's allowing for longer trains, where before you would maybe have 100 cars and you'd have to put 25 cars into one track and pull forward and back up and put another 25 in. So not only are we not switching and causing noise in the community, we're not blocking crossings, which is a bonus. Yeah, a lot of benefits that way. But sorry, long answer, but I would say between 10 and 16 is a fair average. 1,000 feet.
Thank you. Director Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question, now that CP and CN share the same rails, are you sharing maintenance also?
We don't necessarily share the same rail. There is an area in the valley that we have, we call it a directional running zone, where because our grade is that much easier, the loads will come through the directional running zone, both CPKC and CN. And then when they leave the lower mainland empty, those typically would go on CP's line until we merge back and then kind of split the Kamloops Lake area. However, locomotives and cars, most of the cars that you see on trains are not owned by the railways. They're private customers. And the locomotives are shared amongst all the Class 1 railways in North America. So you may see a locomotive run through Chilliwack today, and in a week's time it's down in Mobile, Alabama. And so we all have an agreement in place to service. And if we were to identify an issue with a car along the route, we would take it offline, make the necessary maintenance corrections to have it safe, and then the agreements are in place to figure out how the billing works. But there's not, we don't necessarily run on the same lines. We are definitely two different entities that have our own network.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak for the first time? I have a couple of speakers who wanted to speak a second time. No? All right. Director Adamo?
Thanks. I'll keep this brief, but I think this will be for Shannon. When you're out to do the grinding, do you do a brush removal through your right-of-ways first? Is that a process that actually takes place? And then with respect to your fire smarting, because that's critical in our area, and we get a lot of complaints about brush removal on the right-of-ways and invasive species and things like that. Do you notify local fire departments or volunteer fire departments that this will be occurring? Are they aware that you're actually in the area?
Yep. So we do the brush removal every spring through summer. And actually so what happens is they'll spray it and then it dries up, right? So I almost prefer that they don't spray it, so it's more lush, right? So it's less likely to catch on fire. But CN's process is just to do that, every spring into summer, and they try to remove brush as much as possible. And I just work around it. And yes, we do have to tell the fire department, the local fire department, that we're coming the day before. And we log all of that. Any advice they've given to us, we follow that advice, and we log it in an online log that we have for at CN.
I can expand on the vegetation management program that we have, and that's typically we have a team that looks after that typically will send out a notification to the district, in this case municipalities, First Nation communities, in advance of just kind of what the program is, what's used, and when it's going to occur. And then we also have a website that people can reference, and if there's feedback given to us on locations that because most of it's through a spray program, so it's either done sprayed via a truck or a train, and it really just covers the ballast, the rock that holds the steel rail and rail ties in place, and it sprays down on an angle, all within our right of way. And that, as Shannon said, it typically over time, I guess, would dry out and die. And we also have our engineering teams, our track forces that work on the rails that you'll see in let's say a pickup truck with on steel wheels. And they have some manual brush clearing program within their arsenal. And we've got a fire prevention officer based down of Surrey, former part of the different municipality fire chief and different roles he's held. So a really great asset for CN, and he's working with different groups on fire smarting initiatives, and maybe even looking at prescribed burns. Really in its infancy, but looking at ways to do things smarter and better, and with technology and involving communities and the knowledge and knowledge from the land base as well. And then, of course, big collaborations with BC Wildfire and different, Tarina with your team. Lots of great collaborations over the years and discussions and how to kind of work through different things. So.
Thank you. Okay, time's moving on, so we have two more questions for the second time. So if we could keep it very brief, so we can move on, and I'll call it quits after these two. Next, Director Lum.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I will be quick. And I apologize. Maybe this is just a byproduct of my kid loving trains so much. I want to ask all these train questions. Question about with CN re-envisioning kind of your place in the sea to sky corridor and your track that I think you guys are relinquishing the lease on, or whatever. You've been in the news. Are there any capital upgrades that you're envisioning elsewhere that would enable more passenger rail service?
Great question. Yeah, so you're right. July of this year, we notified and the different groups that we're required to, as outlined by the Canadian Transportation Agency, of who to notify when we add track to the discontinuance list. And that was about 200 miles worth of track between Squamish, north of Squamish and south of 100 Mile House. That track right now has no customers. We're always open and willing to listen, through chambers, through your economic development arms at the municipalities and districts. Always looking to add capacity and add freight and move those goods that are being produced right here in BC. Sorry, Director Lum, the part of your question was, I'm still thinking about how your boy likes trains.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, I was talking the conversation that's arisen as a result of that has been about a generational opportunity for passenger rail. And you were saying, like, you may not own the trains or operate them, but for an operator like Via or somebody to step in and look at providing more service. And then you talked about significant amount of capital upgrades you're doing, double tracking, adding more sidings and stuff in your other pieces of track. And I know that's one of the things that perhaps the passenger services struggle with, is that having to, with the amount of freight moving, it's not always conducive to the passenger rail or travel. So is there capital upgrades on your current track that may make that passenger rail travel more of an opportunity?
Right. Yeah. So yes. So passenger rail is totally separate from CN. Well, it's 30 years this year. Just this month that had the initial public offering of kind of going from that Crown Corp to a private entity, and I believe it was that time when the passenger service kind of split out and and VIA was created, and so two different entities. We CN is strictly freight. While we support passenger service, we would love to see it on its own dedicated rail line, just for that very reason, just to allow that commodity. And we do power the economy. We move, billions of dollars a year in goods and products, and so there is that. I don't want to say conflict, but there's scheduling and trying to make it work for everyone, and when there's that much freight moving, it makes it difficult sometimes. So there's definitely some intricacies and some finagling to make things and scheduling work. By adding the double track and the sidings, throughout the western corridor, it should improve like the movement and fluidity. But I can't say for certain how much of an increase that would. And I don't know if there's any of these companies out there that are looking at expansion or even building out. Building is expensive. Adding mileage to our brand new track is not cheap. So between environmental and archaeological and then just the cost of steel and everything else, it adds up. So again, while we support passenger rail service, we'd love to see it on its own dedicated line.
Director Barton.
Yeah, this is a question about what was on the news the other day about getting potash from Saskatchewan to the west coast through, I don't know if it's Bellingham or Seattle. Is that all in the States, or I don't know if you can comment on it, or is that going to go through some of our communities in the Lower Mainland before it gets to the States? Because it seems like this, you just mentioned about the cost of double tracking and all that. Is that between a private company and the potash companies, or do you have any say of how that?
Definitely advocate and would lobby for. And I saw the Premier Eby's comments today that he's quite pissed off that they are going into the U.S. because there is, as Peter Zada states, I mean, there's room and capacity at the port to move that product. And BHP, for instance, they have a huge potash initiative going on in Saskatchewan right now, and that will move on CN's line to the Vancouver coast. This would be obviously a different company. And I don't know which route they would go, if they would come through CN and interchange with BNSF out of Vancouver and then go down south, or if they had a different routing. I'm not sure, sir, but we would definitely be in favor of moving that product to the west coast of Vancouver for sure.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's been very interesting and we appreciate your time.
Very welcome. Thank you for having us, and we remain available. In the coming days and weeks ahead. If there's follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to both of us, and we can see what we can do to get you some answers.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Have a wonderful, safe day. Bye-bye.
Next item.
Item 8.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting minutes of October 23rd, 2025.
Moved by Director Pranger, seconded by Director Dixon. All in favor? Motion carried. Next item.
Next item is an information item. It's 8.2, which was our special vote for BC Assessment Gathering and Transmission Pipeline Cost Review.
Any questions or comments on that one? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item.
Section 9 is committee minutes for information and matters arising, items 9.1 through 9.3, if anyone wanted to separate those.
Anyone? No, doesn't look like it.
10.1 is update to Regional and Corporate Services Committee terms of reference. There is a motion for your consideration.
All right. Moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Clute. Director Gibson.
Yeah, thank you. Just a very brief query. I was unclear as to why we were adding the past chair. Very happy with the past chair. So this is not a comment about him, of course. But it wasn't clear to me why we're making.
Well, I'm glad you asked.
So it's
It
not,
gives me an opportunity to explain. I've just thought throughout the last year, because the chair has a much more intimate knowledge of the organization, I've just would have found it really helpful for him to be providing that knowledge transfer on the RACS committee. It's similar like they have at LMLJ and UBCM. They keep on their past chairs and the past presidents for that reason. So I just thought it would be valuable for the organization. And does that satisfy you?
yeah, it just wasn't clear to me why we were doing that. I think you've explained that well. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I had planned on explaining, just in case anyone was wondering. Director Lum?
To be clear, it wasn't a result of me lobbying more work. Although I'm more than happy to answer the call when anybody asks me to. It wasn't something I was not sure what to do with my Thursday morning anymore. So yeah, no, I was happy to be there, and I just as I'm sure in the future any future board chairs will benefit from having past chairs be involved as well. So
yeah, it was definitely me begging. So thanks. Anyone else? All in favor? None opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 11.1 is the Treasury update for October 31st, 2025, an information item. But again, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Don't see any. Oh, we don't have a motion yet. That might be helpful. Do we have a mover?
It's just an information item for 11.1, so we can move on.
Right. Next item then.
11.2, which is the Financial Plan 2025 to 2029 amendment. There is a motion for your consideration.
Do we have a mover? Director Reid, seconded by Director McConaughey. I don't see any questions or comments. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next item.
11.3 is a 2025 grant and aid request for the Hemlock Valley Homeowner Association in Electoral Area C.
Do we have a mover? Director Dong, second Director Stobart, and I forgot to welcome you, Director Stobart. Thank you for joining us. We don't have any other alternates this evening, do we? No? Great, thank you. All right. Director Bartman.
Just a question, because there's two agenda items here. $2,500 and $2,000 to these Cultus Lake and Hemlock Valley. Is there like a maximum that I guess what I'm saying is it necessary for the board to pass these things? Like, is this, or am I just looking for something? It seems like this is a pretty minute amount of money that coming to the directors that I thought maybe staff would.
Ms. Kinnaman, you'd like to explain?
Yeah. Maybe we'll just have our Deputy CFO, Beth Klein, respond to that question.
Thank you for the question. It is in our policy to bring it before the board. It is a requirement to provide the grant funding that the board approve that payment.
All right. All in favor? None opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
11.4 is the 2025 grant and aid request for the Cultus Lake Park Community Events and Engagement Committee in Electoral Area H.
Mover, Director Dixon, second Director Dreesen. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
12.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1728 and Fraser Valley Regional District Cultus Lake Park Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1791 for small-scale multi-unit housing requirements.
It's for EAs only. We have two motions. We have a mover for motion number 1, Director Dickey, second Director Dixon. All in favor? Unopposed? Motion's carried. Motion number 2. Moved by Director Davidson, second Director Dixon. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 12.2 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Sub-Regional Animal Control Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1797.
Moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director McConaughey. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
12.3 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area B Garbage Collection Regulations and Fees Establishment Bylaw number 1800.
We have two motions. We have a mover for motion number one. This is full board. Second by first by Director Damo, seconded by Director Smith. All in favor? Motion's carried. Motion number two by Director Damo, second Director Bartman. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
And there's a motion number 3.
Yeah. Motion number 3. Sorry, I missed that one. Director Clute, seconded by Director Siemens. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 12.4 is the FVRD Electoral Area Soil Deposit Bylaw number 1802.
We have a mover. Oh,
Through the
something.
chair, I'd like to
Director Davidson.
I'd like to move option 2 from the staff report, that the Fraser Valley Regional District Board give third reading to the bylaw cited as Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area Soil Deposit Bylaw number 1802, 2025.
Do we have a seconder? Director Damo. Any comments or questions? Director Davidson.
Right. So thank you, Chair. Last July, an Abbotsford resident working as a surveyor wearing high visibility gear and supported by traffic control was struck and killed by a loaded dump truck on Sylvester Road in Hatzick Valley. This was obviously a tragedy, but I don't think you'll find a single Hatzick Valley resident that was surprised by something like this finally happening. Bringing an end to the unplanned, opportunistic, high-volume, long-term industrial traffic running through residential neighborhoods, for me, is perhaps the major driver for this bylaw. These are the same roads that school buses pick up and drop off children. I spoke at length with Mr. Downloos earlier this week to get some context around the staff recommendation for a 3-month delay. My takeaway, which was option 1, my takeaway from the discussions was that the main driver for the delay would be to allow time for staff to determine if transition planning was needed for sites currently operating at type C permit volumes and would be required to downgrade to type B volumes until they are successful in a zoning amendment application. Drainage planning was an example of why a transition plan might be needed. Mr. Danlos mentioned that this matter hadn't yet settled in staff's mind. The 3-month delay associated with option 1, the staff recommendation, arises from staff availability during the holiday season and is not related to some of the type C landowners' request for a 3-month delay. If I had to summarize the option for a 3-month delay versus given third reading tonight, which is the motion before us right now, I'd put it this way. We can carry on for another 3 months in our current unregulated state while we determine if these details need to be addressed at all, or we can move things forward on the shortest possible timeline, give third reading tonight, and make adjustments later if need be. I'd also like to thank staff for their staff report, for bringing a bylaw good to go for third reading today. And more than usual tonight, I appreciate staff's need to cover multiple bases sometimes. Make the staff recommendation, but allow for another path solidly supported by the draft bylaw should we want to go that way. And I thought it would make sense to go back to Mr. Danilus at this point and see if he had any comments or observations on anything I've said or anything else he'd care to say at this point.
Ms. Kinnaman?
With permission of the chair.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Over the last couple of years, the board has wrestled with the issue of soil deposit in electoral areas, a large amount of illegal soil deposit, and also a much lesser amount of soil deposit taking place in what I'd characterize as a low regulation environment, and the kinds of challenges that brings for community impacts and environmental impacts. And the board has characterized this as a crisis, and even at one time it contemplated the use of emergency powers. That's the extent of the concern that's arisen at the board table. And so for that reason, we've attempted to bring this bylaw forward expediently. Staff are confident that if the board wishes to proceed with option 2, that's the bylaws that's currently drafted on the agenda tonight, that's a workable bylaw. It's a viable bylaw and staff can work with it. We'd work with operators to transition from the current situation to the bylaw. We would have what I think is probably a few months to obtain ministry approval for the bylaw, and that's an occasion for us to work with what I think is about half a dozen or 7 ongoing operations that would be particularly affected by this transition period.
Thank you, Mr. Danilus. Director Siemens.
Thank you. I can appreciate the director's concerns about the safety and those issues. I guess I just want to confirm are there any unintended consequences of going tonight? I'm thinking, I'm hearing that there is going to be a bit of a delay because of the ministerial approvals. So does that, I just want to make sure there's no other unintended consequences, because I know that the city of Abbotsford has had lots of challenges and it's really frustrating that we don't have agriculture, the Minister of Agriculture on some of these, but I know that there's layers of complexity and not knowing all of the details inside and out on the electoral area, because I know some of this isn't always agricultural land. So just want to make sure there's no other unintended consequences that are going to cause us some indigestion.
I may, through the chair. One of the challenges, of course, with unintended consequences is that they arise because they're not predicted, and so there's a possibility, of course, that there are consequences that we're not aware of. There are a couple of issues that staff report on in the report that's on the agenda. If the board saw fit to give us a few months of more time, we would give some further thought to the transition provisions. We would also look at what's characterized in the draft bylaws as Type C permits, and Type C permits would apply to soil deposit that exceeds 1,000 cubic meters in any calendar year. At current, the way the bylaw is drafted, it limits opportunities for Type C permits to industrial and commercially zoned parcels. There's an opportunity, I think, to look a little broader and see if there are other types of parcels where Type C permits might be appropriate. Staff haven't had the opportunity to fully investigate what those other options might be. We don't come with solutions to that question, but rather we're raising it. And so it could be an unintended consequence that soil deposit is prevented from occurring on parcels where the board might think that that's acceptable. But what I would say is, if the board's inclined to proceed with the bylaw tonight, that we take the view that we are adopting the bylaw, and that's meant to get a handle on a very difficult situation, and that we implement the bylaw and get some experience with it over the following year, and then come back with any amendments that are needed as a result of what we learn.
Thank you. Director Clute.
Thank you. Much in line with what Director Siemens was commenting on. I'm a little bit hesitant in the fact that there could be the unintended consequence piece. I read through some of the material about the small scale gardeners, for instance, bringing in organic material. So I guess my question would be: is there still an opportunity to refine, even if it's passed this evening, between third and final?
Thank you. Through the chair. After third reading, the bylaw would be submitted to the province for an approval. And if we make subsequent changes after the province approved it, we would be going back to the province for approval of the amended bylaw, which there's nothing particularly wrong with that, but we should acknowledge the delay that would involve.
Right.
Thanks. Director Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would say this has been a very controversial project from day one, and many strong concerns expressed by all of the electoral area directors covering a broad spectrum. We've invested a very large amount of staff time to get us to the point where we are today, and we will be investing a lot of staff time in the future to properly enforce these regulations. And As Director Clute, I think Director Siemens have stated, if we move this to third reading at this point, we'll be sending it off to Victoria, and the bylaw is gone. We'll have tied a bow around it and it's off. We've just gone through a very long public feedback process and got a lot of concerns expressed by not only property owners, but business owners. And that has not gone back to the electoral areas committee at this time. We haven't had a chance to speak to it at the committee level. And I really think that the staff recommendation that we bring this back to East and get a chance to make sure we've got the right bylaw before we send it to Victoria is a good idea. That I think the staff recommended that additional time would support clear implementation and help reduce impacts on property owners. And I think that's good advice. And it's an unfortunate delay, but 3 months in this very long process, I think is something that we may just have to step up for. Thank you.
Director Horn?
Yes, I think that normally the careful process is the right way to go. But I completely concur with the remarks made by Director Davidson that 3 months is enough time to do a lot more damage. I was out in your beautiful area the other day, Director Davidson, and it's just amazing to me how much activity occurs amongst your neighbors that, shall we say, is spicy. This is the most troubling of it. And of course, a lot of these vehicles are traveling through Mission on our highway or in our back roads as well. So we very much share the concerns of your area and all of the other areas where this is happening. And we recognize this is a regional problem. We have spoken with the Minister of Agriculture, and it's clearly a priority amongst them as well. And like our conversations with other ministers at UBCM, the message that we're receiving is do something on your side as well. Don't only have the province be responsible. As a practice, I think there are times when you have to be decisive, and this is one of them, and then the process should involve a review after a year. I think that's good, natural, healthy practice here. There will be lessons learned, as Mr. Download said, and staff will have an opportunity to gather input and practice. But the sooner that the tool is in the toolbox and the sooner the messaging can go out, the faster we can address this very bad problem and a growing problem.
Director Reid?
Thank you, Chair. During reading the information that I was put forward today, I also felt like motion 2 or 3, whatever motion that was the right move to go forward. I felt like another 3 months is going to put it behind, and I think I heard Mr. Danilou say that it's still an additional maybe 1 or 2 months after that, and so we're really looking at another 5 months before we get ministerial approval or provincial approval, and time is of the essence in this, and I think that staff will be able to do a good job evaluating what other areas of this bylaw is going to need some work, because the first one forward isn't always the best one, but I don't think that should stop the motion to continue to move this forward. It's already been in process for a long time. So I will support the motion.
Thank you. Director, sorry, trying to figure out who is next. I think it's Director Adamo.
Thanks very much. Through the chair to staff, thanks very much for this draft bylaw. I too will be supporting option 2. I've gone through it numerous ways. I'm still receiving 3 to 5 calls a week. I'm just going to build a bigger picture for you right now. The first call I get comes to me from a resident concerned about an operation that's taking place on land that's not ALR land or ALC land. I have frustrated neighbors. I have truck traffic. I have danger to children that are walking to school. Then I have the calls to the police because the police can't slow the trucks down. Then I have neighbors and residents actually putting 100 or 1,000 gallon baskets on a roadway to keep them pushed to the outside so they don't damage the road. So then I have Ministry of Transportation involved. Then I have Ministry of Forest involved because the goods that are coming in are not identified. They're being buried faster than anyone can come and inspect them. Then we have our inspectors that come out, and God, I love them when they do come out. It gets good photography and a lot of great things happening, and we get everyone involved. And now the ministers are actually listening to me. So I have the RAP line involved, Ministry of Fisheries, Ministry of Forests, Ministry of Environment, and the Ministry of Transportation, all involved for one site. That has taken everyone away. And the volume of pollution that's gone into the ground in a river system is extraordinary. And 1 week more to delay this is ridiculous. We can't go on any longer with this. It's just gone on and on and on, and I'm losing land. And once you've lost your land, by the way, folks, you don't get it back. It does not come back. It cannot be reclamated by someone that leaves the country, leaves their business, changes into another numbered company. I'm sorry, but there are enough bad people out there to do this, and we're all going to pay the price for it. So I really support option 2 and hope that you will consider that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Dreesen.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Gibson. So yeah, I just wanted to thank staff and give some kudos for 4,710 project webpage visits and over 105,000 people reached through the community engagement process. So I did think it was a very impressive reach. I also was not enthusiastic about delaying the referral to the Ministry of Environment. So I do appreciate Director Davidson's moving option 2. And I believe that this board has been quite clear about the urgency of this situation. And I appreciate staff working very quickly on this. So many residents have said this bylaw in the report that we read is long overdue. There was strong support from the public, and I'm happy to I'm prepared to support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, Director Mekahonic, I believe, was next, and then Director Johnson.
Thank you. So we've all been working on this, and I think we're all passionate about it. And I have had issues in my electoral area as well. So, and it really is. And my concern is, that we take that little bit of extra time. It almost is like, we're taking the car into the shop and it's not quite done, and we're driving it out. Like we're not finished on the work on it. And, we will have people that are caught right now, that are currently working and doing things with permits. They will not be grandfathered, and it's sort of moving the goalpost on them. So I don't know. I don't think personally, like when I'm looking at it, I don't think 3 months is a long time in the bigger picture to get it right. I always remember my grandmother saying, do something in haste, repent at leisure. I just think, getting this done, taking that extra 3 months and really drilling down. I do hear what you're saying. I understand. I have the same issues in my community as well, not to the extent that, that could always change. But I really would like to see some of the things worked out before we move forward, if we possibly can. That's just how I feel about it. Thank you.
Okay, Director Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and I certainly appreciate the urgency. But I think with option 1, I'd have to agree with that. The 3-month delay, although it might seem like that is too long because it's already been too long. But I like that idea only because I think we need to get it right before we send it into the province. And if we don't, and you've got to go back and submit a second time, then are you not creating just yet another delay that could be even longer? Rather than having 2 delays, I just think it's important to get it right the first time and not have to go back and rehash it. And yeah, the saying came to my mind as well: haste makes waste. Although I'm sure it doesn't feel like we're being hasty at all, but Thank you.
Thank you. Director Stobart?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did speak with the Director Council at some length about this, and he was very, very supportive of option 2. Over my many years with this organization, the thing that brought the most grief and the most stress to the area residents was this soil. It was happening everywhere all the time, and it was very frustrating. And people didn't know, was it legal dumping, was it illegal, was it regulated, unregulated, was the province ever going to come out? And after a month later, somebody shows up and everybody has moved on. And and as mentioned before, that company is now defunct and gone now. So I'm just personally, again, after so many years, and seeing this finally come through and what appears to me to be a very workable bylaw, I don't believe that 3 months is going to give enough time, or there's still going to be things crop up over the next year that should probably be looked at and revisited. No matter how able our staff is, there will still be some things pop up that'll have to be looked at again. For me, getting option 2, getting it in, getting it going now, and then revisit it if we have to, because again, it's been a long time coming, and it's certainly necessary.
Thank you. Director Dixon?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for all the work on this bylaw and the feedback. It's a good discussion, that's for sure. A couple of questions. I will admit I would be leaning towards referring it back to staff. Mostly, it just feels inefficient. It feels like we're sending in an incomplete bylaw that then we'll take another look at and send it back. But that may be completely wrong. This kind of feels so that way. I just wondering that if we have not really a solid answer on those midstream projects right now that will not be grandfathered in, are there potential liability concerns that can come back at us?
Thank you, through the chair. Steph, we don't anticipate liability concerns. For some time, we've been advising soil deposit operators that we're aware of that the board may well move to adopt a soil deposit bylaw. We've been giving operators this advice for many months now, even over the last year. It's foreseeing that we would get to this point at some time. As the board issued geohazard development permits, for example, that involve soil deposit, we've been very clear at the time of permit issuance that these development permits for soil deposit are narrowly focused, and that the board may well adopt a soil deposit with comprehensive soil regulations that could have a major effect on your operation. So we've been very transparent about foreshadowing the development of a bylaw. We would work with, I think there are about a half a dozen, 6 or 7 ongoing operations that would be in this position of looking at a transition. We'd work with them over the next several months to identify how to make that transition. We've identified things like drainage. So we have operators that have planned their soil deposits to meet positive drainage requirements and avoid draining onto neighbors' lands. And if they're midstream, then there's going to need to be a shift in how they manage water and a new plan for managing water. And that might require some additional time or technical detail, which we certainly would work with them on. But ultimately, we think that these are workable situations that can be resolved with mutual effort on both parties. With bylaw, if the board wishes to give us a little bit more time, we would look to consider what kinds of bylaw provisions could help with that transition process. We don't have answers to that question at this point, but concepts like allowing a volume in excess of the current permit requirements, where that volume of deposit is needed to alter drainage plans, that might be the kind of concession that the bylaw could make to this transition period. But ultimately, it's a small number of operations, and I think it's workable for us to work with those operators on a one-to-one basis and find a path forward that meets the bylaw in a reasonable time frame and with reasonable requirements.
Thank you. Director Lum.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm interested to comment on this, and I know it's been a huge priority of the board, and I appreciate all of staff's hard work on the file this far. One of the pieces of information that we've been asked, or it seems to have popped up in correspondence, was that this was going to disproportionately affect these home gardeners, these poor home gardeners that were putting material in their gardens. And I'm maybe one step up from a home gardener, but I'm wondering about 20 cubic meters, what that translate to in terms of yards. I mean, I think I know the answer. I think that's 2 dump trucks. I'm not sure what home gardeners are putting 2 dump trucks of soil on their gardens annually. I have seven acres, and I don't bring in 2 dump trucks of and I think even manure and mulch and fertilizer is exempted. Is that maybe staff comment?
Thank you. Through the chair. The bylaws drafted contains 12 permit exemptions, and one of them is the deposit of fertilizer, manure, compost, mulch, soil conditioners. They're for farming, for horticulture, or domestic gardening. So that's an outright permit exemption in the bylaw. Director Lum's also correct that soil deposits less than 20 cubic meters doesn't require a permit. So soil deposit up to 100 cubic meters annually does require a permit, but there's no fee for that permit, nor is there any professional involvement. So it's a free permit, and it's an application that could be prepared by property owners, quite a streamlined process. So I think gardeners need not be concerned. There's some exemptions, and if indeed a gardener finds himself in a position needing 99 cubic meters each year, there's a process for simple, straightforward permits to accommodate that.
Okay, and one more, Madam Chair. I think, normally in a situation like this, that sober second thought where you're looking at getting some of that feedback in and incorporating that into the bylaw and trying to make everybody happy would be the right course of action. One of the challenges with this is that explicitly there are operators who have been taking advantage of the regulatory gap and exploiting it. And now people are dying. People have died because of this. And it's not over dramatizing the situation. There are situations where people were threatening to strap themselves to bulldozers and throw themselves in front of dump trucks. Like, the situation is obviously dire. And I think I listen when a director who's heavily impacted by this says we got to get something going here. And I think, maybe there's an opportunity here to look at a provision, maybe it's board direction, whereby staff are directed to work with the grandfathered, maybe not grandfathered, but you find the way, like you said, with those legitimate operators. But the way I look at this, if we delay 3 months, that's not a 3-month delay. That's 3 months before it could possibly come for final adoption by the board, or to get sent to the ministry and then back for final. You're going to have a whole another construction season of waste, debris, material that's going to get illegally buried in the electoral area. So if we can find a way, or if we can provide some support or reassurance to directors who may not be as comfortable with sending this off and want to take a little bit more time, that you'll work with the folks that have in place a legitimate operation that taken out permits, then I'm happy to do that. I don't know if there's amendment in order that gives staff the direction to do so, but if they can be on their way, and we're not going to go back and unfairly penalize people who were legitimately trying to do the right thing, then I'm just looking for a window to be able to do that, and maybe some suggestion. But if that helps make people a little bit more comfortable, I'm happy to support it. Otherwise, I'll just support the director who's put the motion on the table.
Right.
I can start. I can start maybe, and maybe if Mr. Daniluz wants to jump in, but I'm not certain that amendment is needed in this case. My feeling is that your staff are always working very closely with members of the community when they come forward with legitimate gaps per se, or if they're treated fairly when they bring their applications forward. I suspect that that would be the same in this case. I don't believe that our staff are actively looking to penalize every single person out there that wants to bring soil onto their property. We very much want to work with folks who have legitimate reasons to bring good soil onto their property. But maybe I'll just look to Mr. Daniluz if he wanted to weigh in on that.
Thank you, through the chair. Would certainly be our normal operating procedure to work closely with those owners and operators that are caught up in this transition process. From my perspective, wouldn't need a specific board resolution to that effect. It might be of some comfort to those operators knowing that the board's solidly behind the staff efforts to work with them on a transition. But certainly from our perspective, we'll be doing that in any case.
Thank you. Director Wardenberg.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I will support the motion on the floor. I don't, there's many people that have been affected by the soil deposit. Thankfully, in Area C, it's been very limited to a certain area, but they have been drastically affected in that small area. The feedback that I see in the report has reflected their I guess their idea or their need for this to pass sooner than later. So I don't see a delay is necessary. I don't like to see a delay in this, so support the motion on the table.
Thank you. Director Gill.
Thank you, and to the chair. I think, personally speaking, I don't think anyone wants to see a delay on this around the table. I know this has been a concern for a little while now. I guess, I do resonate with Director Lum's comments. We have heard from, businesses that have been playing by the rules. And we don't want to see them affected because we still want the Fraser Valley Regional District, a place where, folks can do business, the right way and not, be put up with, barriers. So it does give me comfort that staff will continue to work with, the operators that are playing by the rules. And even if that window from 1 year can be turned into 6 months, because I think, folks are going to be, if there is issues or gaps in the bylaw, it'd be nice to know, right away. And I'm sure they're going to come to you guys, to staff right away, because even any amendment still has to go back to the province. So if there's gaps, let's try and kind of hit them right away.
Okay, Director Clute.
Thanks. I'm still a little torn on this one, but I really appreciate the conversation that's going around this room because I'll hear one person go and I'm going, oh yeah, it makes sense. Then I'll listen to somebody else. But so I guess one of my questions is every time we would come forward with any amendments by matters that may arise that have a negative impact on this bylaw moving forward, we would have to go to the ministry for that approval for any amendments. Or is it just the statutory approval of this bylaw and we can amend it as needed?
That's a question that would be fruitful to get some further advice about, but I'll share my understanding. And it's that it's only bylaw provisions that overlap with the provincial authority around soil quality and contaminated soils that gives rise to this need for provincial approval. So a local government could adopt a soil deposit bylaw that doesn't need any provincial approval if they avoid any overlap with that provincial authority. And so I would conclude that future amendments to the bylaw that don't alter the provisions that address soil quality or prohibitions against soil deposit based on contaminated soils or soil quality, that those amendments wouldn't require a subsequent ministerial approval. But I think this is a question that we would benefit from some advice on. So I'll give you a qualified response.
Okay, thanks for that. And then the one piece that's nagging in the back of my mind is, and it's been referenced in what we heard, there is a vast there's quite the difference on if somebody has a section of land, 160 acres versus a 2 acre parcel. And, you know, if somebody's building a shop or whatever, and they have to bring in gravel or whatever, I'm just always worried. We're bringing this bylaw forward because there's way too many bad actors out there, but I'm always worried about those unintended consequence pieces. So I guess the applications that are currently in the queue, are they exempted from any permit fees?
No.
So they would have to pay as well,
Yes.
even though that there might be conducting works today.
From the date of adoption of the bylaw,
Okay.
if there's soil deposit occurring, they'd be subject to fees for deposits of a size that generate fees.
Right. And how do we anticipate getting a handle on this? Do we have the staff resources to deal with this?
Yes, we do. We anticipate that we will. In the 2026 financial plan, electoral area directors have supported the addition of a new position that would handle the enforcement of this bylaw. They would work on other bylaw enforcement files in addition, but we'd have one new full-time position that's the need for which is generated from this bylaw.
Okay, thanks for that.
All right. I don't see any others. Oh, wait a minute. We'll go to Director Dixon, and then I'll allow Director Davidson since it was his motion to close.
Okay, and just I guess for my own comfort, because initially the staff recommendation was to refer this back to EASC. So they had time to take a look at all, I guess, my understanding, take a look at all the comments that were here, and they weren't all about the grandfathering parts. There are other ones here that I'm looking at on the list. Have those already been addressed since the consultation and since all this feedback has been gathered, or what is the plan for that? So we'll look at, you know, the home gardening and the small scale exemptions and comments about rural fairness, like those kind of things. Like, are you like, I'm trying to understand why you initially, or why the staff report was initially to refer it back. Because what I'm hearing tonight really is that there's not really that much concern other than especially the grandfather piece. So if I can just get a little more clarity on that.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Dixon. We had committed, and the last point to which we reported to the board on this matter, we had committed to reporting back to the board in November after the public consultation period ended, and we provided what we heard report and bring the bylaw back. And so it was important to us to do that in November. That gave us a limited time, but we used it wisely, and the bylaw that's on the agenda tonight reflects a number of changes that are informed by the public input, but also by the staff analysis. So for example, we received a number of comments from residents saying things like, we really need this kind of bylaw, but I'm suspicious of your ability to administer and enforce it. So we carefully reviewed the admin and enforcement provisions and made sure they're tight. Of course, residents aren't aware that we intend to budget for a new position next year. We also made adjustments to reflect the concerns about gardeners getting caught up in the bylaw, or clarity of our overlap with the agricultural land reserve, and of course road concerns. And so there are changes to the bylaw since it was last in front of you that address a whole host of public concerns. The concern that was front and center in staff's mind, where we thought we would benefit from some additional time, is for the most part centers on type C permits. So again, those are permits for deposits greater than 1,000 cubic meters annually, and the bylaw would limit them to commercially, industrially zoned properties. And so staff's own analysis and some of the public feedback suggested there might be other types of properties where larger soil deposits could reasonably occur. And that's our view as well. And it's fundamentally the reason why we suggested we take a few more months to consider what other types of parcels, maybe it's a parcel size requirement, or maybe it's a bylaw provision that that allows a gradation of soil deposit based on parcel size. We don't have answers to that question, but we felt like it would be fruitful to spend some further time on it. The transition provisions were a secondary consideration for us, but also one that we felt that it may be possible to introduce bylaw provisions that ease that transition period. But fundamentally, our suggestion for an extra 3 months related to these type C permits.
Thank you. Okay, Director Dickey, you want, okay, we'll allow you to speak, and then Director Davidson will finish up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just speaking to Mr. Downley's recent comments, I know in our community we've had single-family homes on small properties, half acre, maybe 2 acre, and they have brought in somewhere between 500 and 1,000 truckloads of material, which is a destination for these construction materials, which we are generating in our government projects and apartment building projects, etc. And it has improved the whole neighborhood. They've created beautiful home sites, and this will not be addressed under the current bylaw. That they would that would be prohibited. And I really think we should take some time and make sure we're not overlooking things like this, which are, in my estimation, a huge improvement to the neighborhoods. And it's also finding a home for this construction material that our communities are generating. And there's got to be a home for it somewhere. So that's why I would like to refer this back to staff under the staff recommendation that has been presented to us. Thank you.
All right, Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. So, listening to the conversation with great interest, a couple of things. One is that I appreciate now and I didn't understand before is that we don't have to go back to the province every time we need to change to this, unless we're changing areas around contaminated soil, which is the intersect of Ministry of Environment. So I think the concerns around getting it right the first time are in my mind, a bit overstated. Using Director McCahonnick's vehicle analogy, yeah, you may need to take the vehicle to the shop many times, but it's roadworthy today. If we move forward on it, we may have to go back again and make changes to it. We can do that. It's what we're good at. So I think this. I struggle with the concept of that you need to get it right the first time. And this is time sensitive. It's a safety issue. We needed this. We needed something in place a year ago. I do have a question though, because it doesn't look like we're going to be unanimous on this. Should this motion on the floor be defeated? This is a question through to staff. Would there be unintended consequences around defeating this third reading motion? If the board's preference is to refer it to a future date, should that be raised as a separate motion? This is a question through to staff.
If I understood the question, it was about consequences of not proceeding with third reading and accepting some delay. I think the consequences of that choice really are the delay itself and impacts to the environment of the communities that can occur in the meantime. Would point out that if we're directed to make changes to the bylaw, we'd come back at a future board meeting. And of course, at that time, the board could consider third reading. Sorry.
I think the context of my question one is that if you defeat third reading on any bylaw, does that kind of reset a clock in any way and inadvertently incur additional delays above and beyond what we're already talking about in option one?
Sorry, through the chair to Director Davidson, I think maybe the question I'm hearing here is the unintended consequences if third reading should go to a vote and fail today.
Correct.
Okay. So if the motion on the floor fails today, presumably the bylaw would be brought back in a different iteration for the board's consideration at a future date for voting at third again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's been great discussion. I know we've taken some time, but this was really important and complex. So I will now call the question. All in favor of the motion? Those, oh, yeah, we better count.
So perhaps what we'll do is when we go for opposed, we'll keep everybody's hands up.
Okay.
Well. Thank you.
Are you finished counting in favor?
Yes.
I might as well.
4, 5,
Oh.
6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it pass or do
No,
we
any
need
opposed?
those opposed?
Just to double check here. Sure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 opposed. It passes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Sorry, Director. You were just raising your hand to vote. Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, motion passes. Thank you everyone for the great discussion and input, and staff for your awesome answers. It's much appreciated. Next item, please.
Item 12.5 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area D Integrated Water System Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1804.
There's two, I think there's just two motions, correct? Yes, two motions. Is there a mover for motion one? Director Dickey, second by Director Clute. See no questions. All in favor? Unopposed? Motion's carried. Next, motion number 2. Moved by, Director Stobart, seconded by Director Smith. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
12.6 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Popcom Street Lighting Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1805.
All right, two motions here. Do we have a mover? Director Popov, second by Director Reed. All in favor? Unopposed? Motion's carried. Next, motion number 2. Moved by Director Reed, seconded by Director Wardenberg. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 12.7 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Popcom West Storm Drainage Local Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1806.
And this is two motions as well. Do we have a mover of motion number 1? Director Horn, seconded by Director Barkman. All in favor? And opposed? Motion's carried. Motion number 2. Director Dickey, seconded by Director Dixon. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 13.1 is Agricultural Land Commission application for non-adhering residential use at 11425 Hodgkin Road in Electoral Area C.
This is EAs only. Do we have a mover? Director Wardenberg. Do we have a seconder? Director Stobart. Seeing no questions, all in favor? Unopposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 13.2 is a site-specific exemption to reduce the Fraser River floodplain setback for 27384 Yurkin Road in Electoral Area B.
This is EAs only again. Moved by Director Adamo, seconded by Director Dickey. All in favor? Unopposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
13.3 is update to hazard acceptability thresholds for development approvals.
Do you have a mover? Director Clute, seconded by Director Dixon. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
13.4 is a 2026 Community Resiliency Investment Fire Smart Community Funding and Supports Grant for Fire Smart Activities and Fuel Management Activities Endorsement Request.
Do we have a mover? Director Reed, seconded by Director McCahonick. All in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion's carried. Next item.
13.5 is City of Abbotsford OCP Update Regional Context Statement Acceptance.
You have a mover, Director Siemens, second by Director Gibson. See no comments or questions. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
13.6 is the 2026 to 2029 Transit Improvement Program Initiatives and Service Updates.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Director Facio, second by Director Jason. All in favor?
No.
Oh, sorry. Director, I was a little too quick on the draw. Director Horn.
Yes, as a question through the chair's staff here, strongly support the motion and particularly the North Fraser expansion. Our dialogue at the city with BC Transit has, and we've talked about it even at LMLGA, the interregional implications of something like a 701 service. I know our friends in SLRD are dealing with their challenges at the other end as well. My question is, would there be any reason why we can't either have an additional motion or an amendment to this motion that says, and further that we encourage BC Transit to work with TransLink to expand the service levels of the existing 701?
Through the chair to Director Horn, I'm just going to look to my colleague Allison Stewart, and I do see that we have a representative from BC Transit on the line as well. Just wondering if there's
They already expected, Rob expected me to bring this up. No question about it.
Well, maybe you should have let me know that you're.
He knows it's coming every time.
So just looking to Ms. Stewart, if you wanted to weigh in, if you have any concerns about adding that clause into the motion with respect to conversations with TransLink to expand service with 701.
Through the chair, I'm just sort of going off the top of my head here. I think certainly that could be something that could be added as part of our communications with TransLink. There's other things that we have to discuss with TransLink as well with respect to the 264 facility. So maybe that's an opportunity to discuss these broader interregional issues with TransLink. So,
Madam Chair, I suspect, and Mr. England, before Ms. Stewart sits down, this is the transit improvement plan request, and this is distinct from what I'm asking. But I'm wondering if before we move off it, Mr. England, perhaps to the chair, it's perhaps a separate motion rather than amended motion here. Is that a good take?
Yes, if it was a separate sort of addition to it rather than
I would just ask that, and Mr. England would maybe have an opinion on this as well, Madam Chair.
Please go ahead, Mr. Ringna.
Yeah, thank you to the chair, Director Horn. Thank you for your question. Yeah, I think Ms. Stewart's outlined it quite well. This motion is related to the FBRD's expansion item, so we would probably want to keep that clear and distinct. But absolutely, further to what Ms. Stewart says, we're in consistent dialogue with TransLink on quite a few different initiatives within the region, adding that in and having further discussions. We have had some discussions with them regarding the 701, but keeping that kind of on the agenda of those discussions is probably warranted.
Madam Chair, then if that's okay, it's okay with everybody here, I'll just simply support this motion, but as you come back, I'll make a separate motion just to sort of keep that alive with BC Transit and the regional district. Thank you.
Absolutely. Director Lum?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. And this was one of the items on the agenda that stuck out to me with great interest. And I was very excited to see a prioritization of from this board for the North of the Fraser transit expansion. We've been talking about this as we have other things on the agenda tonight for many, many years, it seems, without success in implementing the service. And I know it's one that our residents have waited patiently for. Which brings me to why we're inviting the Ministry of Transportation to come and discuss their plans for service to Gloucester. I'm not sure why it's relevant to this board. They may have assumed that the FEX would like to stop there, but if we're considering east to west service, I think that would largely benefit, I guess, the lack of service right now to Gloucester Estates. If we were picking up people in Carbwolf and having them stay, I guess, almost solely within Metro Vancouver, from what I understand in the way the staff report is written, they're assuming that we are going to run a service like that. I fail to see why that would become a priority of this board, especially before we can even implement service for our own people. I know why it would be nice for transit to have that service, but I fail to see why it would even be a topic of conversation for this board until such time as we've satisfied the long awaited needs of north of the Fraser.
I'll try to answer that through the chair. I think the point of this is to remind the ministry that the Fraser Valley Regional District is a Fraser Valley Regional District service. They have not discussed this expansion with us at all. And it's more kind of a bit of a respect of asking if we would support this sort of expansion at some point in the future and what that would look like. So there really hasn't been that communication between the ministry and the FERD. So the purpose of this really is to kind of knock on the door and say, look, you need to be discussing these things with us, since we're funding 53% of the service.
And right now, the service, correct me if I'm wrong, right? It's Abbotsford, Chilliwack, BC Transit, right? Okay. And so the Abbotsford, BC Transit, and Chilliwack, if they were around this table as service participants and they decided that it was untenable to support doing something that would be, pretty much the sole benefit of TransLink versus supporting our own people, we could probably settle that right now. I think, and then we could talk about it later with the ministry if they chose to come knocking with money. I would assume it'd probably come with a significant amount of money to contribute to the service. Is that fair to say, or maybe not fair to say? I don't know why I guess what I'm saying is the conversation is premature in my mind until we settle north of the Fraser.
Chellam, through the chair, I think that this mirrors another situation that occurred today where the province of Alberta signed an MOU with the federal government about something that could potentially go through the north of British Columbia, and British Columbia would like a seat at that table. I think it's a similar situation here where when we learn that someone's discussing our service and expansions to our service or changes to our service, we'd appreciate an opportunity to sit at the table and discuss that.
I totally agree, and I would welcome the opportunity. I just think it's until we talk about the actual priorities of the board and our people and our residents and the people here that have been waiting patiently for this. I think it can wait. It doesn't preclude TransLink from running a service to serve Gloucester Estates, and I think they should. There's a huge amount of need there for them. But I mean, it would be even sillier to have a really nice brand new transit station that nobody used. So I hope somebody uses it. Maybe one day we will, but I think let's get north of the Fraser going.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other speakers, I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And Director Horn, you had an additional motion?
Yes, that the board resolved to ask BC Transit to explore expansion of service of the 701, particularly with fewer stops in the boundaries of our region, and that they report back to us on how those discussions are going as soon as possible.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for the second, so I can quickly speak to it. And I realize we've had some long presentations this evening. I already know that Mr. Ringman and his partners are working hard on this, and we have been updated a little bit at Mission. I'm very aware of the ticking clock, and this is one that for myself, I really want to make sure we have an oar in the water on before we go. And in particular, because with the work that Kent has done and all of our partners in the North Fraser have done, it makes no sense to have people come and have a dysfunctional service once they reach Mission Central Station. Similar to what Director Lum just said, the conversation we're having is one where I feel as though we are paying a dollar and we need to be able to have those conversations with TransLink. I mentioned earlier, our SLRD folks are having the same discussion. I think there's a lot of confusion, and perhaps this can be included when we get a presentation or update between the funding model that they're asking for and the BC Transit service level. They're two different things, and they keep asking and confusing those things. But it would be very useful for us to do two things here. One is to understand what might be roadblocks in the not just interregional service here, but the service models are very different. Interregional service is challenging all across the province, but we're talking about BC Transit regions to BC Transit regions. Here we're talking about one that has a completely different model, right in a sandwich amongst BC Transit operated services. So the first thing is we need to understand those hurdles. And the second is we need some success stories that can be built upon. And I think that's what I'm really craving here. And I think going to what Director Lum said, if we have some of those and we build bridges for relationships, then they may get us in the room more on things like the conversation for the 66 as well.
Okay, seeing no other speakers. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Item 13.7 is supplementary resolution for funding application to Strategic Priorities Fund.
You have a mover? Director Reid, second by Director Smith. All in favor? And opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Moving down to item 14, which is motions brought forward from the November 19th, 2025 Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting. There are 3 motions for your consideration.
All right, motion number 1. Do we have a mover? Director Adamo, seconder. Director Pranger. All in favor? And opposed? Motion's carried. Motion number 2. Director Horn, seconded by Director Smith.
I do have a comment.
Yes, go ahead, Director Horn.
I do wonder if after a recent LMLGA meeting and a letter that has been issued by LMLGA, the conversation shifted quite a bit, and I gather this has been in consultation with UBCM. That really the question of consultation with municipalities and professionals, and I know that's what we had it left at intergovernmental. But the question really became, are we asking for consultation, or are we asking literally for this not to be done at all until there's a call from it for municipalities? And I don't know whether that's encompassable from staff's perspective in this resolution. I don't want to start the whole debate over again. But quite frankly, I think the letter should say, don't do this work unless you hear we want you to do it, especially given that this is not a minister of housing. This is not a minister who's connected to this work at all that's brought forward this private members bill.
Through the chair to Director Horan, staff are pleased to take whatever direction this board wishes with respect to this item. Obviously, these advocacy items do tend to evolve over a period of time, and my intention, if this were to pass tonight, was to scan the latest and greatest information that was available out there before drafting the letter under your chair's signature. I did note staff had mentioned to me that there's been an extension to January 6th for feedback, which I believe the previous date was December 2nd. So certainly we have a little bit of time here to get it right.
Yeah, I would suggest if it's comfortable for the chair and the board that the letter maybe say first, our first preference is that you leave it alone, and second, that if you are insistent on this, that you do more outreach with professional organizations and local governments.
Completely agree. All right, in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. And motion number 3. By Director Gibson. We have seconder. Director Dixon. All in favor? And opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Excuse me, Chair.
What?
I do have a motion number 4. I think I sent you an email.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss one?
It's not on the agenda. I just wanted to raise a 4th one.
Is that appropriate?
That's appropriate. Yes,
Okay.
it's a motion on from the floor with respect to advocacy.
Okay.
I'd like to move that the Fraser Valley Regional District Board direct staff to prepare a resolution for the 2026 UBCM convention on the topic of legislative changes to enable provincial enforcement officers to seize equipment used in illegal dumping activities.
Do we have a seconder? Seconder Director Adamo. Seeing no other speakers, did you wish to speak to that?
Just want to apologize. I think I was late getting the form in on this one, so that's why it's late. And again, it's just for staff help discussing the merits of the motion later. Thank you.
Right. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Now, next item.
So moving down to item 16, which is items for information. Happy to separate either of those.
Anyone wish to speak to either of those items? No? Well, I do. I was looking for an opportunity to shamelessly brag about the wonderful dog that we adopted from the care center. And then here we have on the agenda, we're talking about in the quarterly report, that 43 dogs found new homes, and one of them was ours. But I would like to point out this number: 106 out of 106 dogs impounded, 70 of those were reunited with their owners, which is awesome. But in all seriousness, I just do want to publicly thank the care center. They were absolutely amazing to deal with. They when you adopt a dog there, they're fully vaccinated. They've been seen by a vet. They're spayed, neuters. You get a bag of dog food, and they're incredibly helpful in answering any questions, incredibly knowledgeable. And most importantly, they care very much about the dogs that they care for. They're very loved there. And so I just wanted to say a very public thank you to them for the wonderful work that they do. All right. Anyone else? No? All right, next item, please.
The next item is item 17, which is items for correspondence. And again, we have items 17.1 through 17.7. Happy to separate any of those.
Anything anyone wishes to pull out of there, speak to? No, doesn't look like it. Next item then.
Moving down to reports by directors.
Any directors? Director Facio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to announce that the lights are up and running in Harrison Hot Springs. The opening was last weekend with the terrible weather. It was a great turnout. Traffic was pouring in. The businesses on the front street were very busy, and they normally gave a free over 1,000 cups of hot chocolate. But the lights are absolutely spectacular this year, as I'm sure are in Agassiz and in Colders Lake. But whatever destination you wish to travel, please come down and enjoy the festive celebrations in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Facio. Director Smith.
So I'd like to shout out here for the People of Hope that came out to support our HDTV that were in the final running of for our community for representing Canada for the makeover. We had 350 people, and it was absolutely amazing. People I never thought would come out were out there with their kids and their families, and absolutely pretty energizing thing for us. And also this weekend is our Christmas thing on Saturday with the Mr. Grinch coming out. And so he was a little in disrepair, and he just got him finished and painted today, so he'll be out tomorrow, drying overnight.
Anyone else? Director Gill.
Thank you. And through the chair, on December 6th, the Regional Chamber is putting on the Candlelight Parade, and Santa Claus and Mayor Horn are going to make an appearance. So please come out. If it's not for Mayor Horn, come out at least for Santa Claus.
Director Brighton.
Just a reminder that the holiday train is coming to Agassiz on December the 19th, and it is a fundraiser for the food bank. If you're coming, please bring a non-perishable food item for the food bank, and it will be a very interesting performance. The Bare Naked Ladies are the band for this year.
Wow.
So I see Miss Kinnaman is going to be there in full force cheering them on, and I would invite everyone to join us. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And if you can't bring a food item, bring money. Director Horn.
I'm guessing that there's never been a moment in this session where somebody referred to the CAO and Bare Naked Ladies in the same sentence. I just really want to point out that historic moment. And I also want to say to Director Facio that because he didn't mention the lights in Mission, I have been keeping the squirrel that attacked all of our lights last year, and I'm bringing him to Harrison. So but in all seriousness, bring your pets to Santa Paws this coming Saturday, because even though Councillor Gill is joking about me being dressed as Santa Claus, this Saturday I will suddenly disappear for 3 hours from 10 until 1, and somebody who looks somewhat like me behind a beard will be at Bosley's in near Freshco and Mission, and that's all for a good cause, for Interact. So come out, bring your pets, cats, dogs. We've had tarantulas, birds, and lizards. I have not yet had a ferret. I love ferrets. We need ferrets.
Yeah. Hey, Director McElhone.
Oh, that's great. So I just in the Chilliwack River Valley area E, we have a lot of rescue work that happens due to the nature of our recreational area, and I just wanted to give a shout out and congratulations to Chilliwack Search and Rescue, who won the Defender Service Award this year, and it's just been a really help. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Udamo.
Thanks very much. Just a great invite to everyone to come out to Yale on Sunday for the Yale Ratepayers annual Christmas fair and fundraiser. It's going to be just a ton of fun. There's live music. There's lots of activities. They've got someone cooking for you, and it's a great craft fair on a Sunday from 10 to 4 in Yale, historic Yale. So come out for a visit. You might even get a little bit of snow on the ground. It'll be nice.
Thank you. All right, next item, please.
Okay, so moving down to public question period for items relevant to the agenda. We'll just turn things over to our Deputy Corporate Officer, Lauren Olenek.
Thank you. We no longer have any members of the public joining us online. However, we do still have 2 members in the boardroom, so this would be your opportunity to ask a question relevant to an item on the agenda.
Either of you have any questions? No?
No.
All right, thank you.
Okay, looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Facio, second Director Pranger, all in favor. Motion's carried, and just give us a few moments.
Yes.